I'm Sarah Wilson, 27, the invisible middle child in what everyone called our picture-perfect family. 15 years ago, my sister Lauren's accident changed everything. Our parents always cared more about appearances than truth, about their reputation than my broken body. I never understood why I was the one hospitalized after Lauren's accident until those X-rays revealed what everyone tried to hide. The truth always finds a way to surface, even when buried under perfect family portraits and practiced smiles. Before I share this painful family secret I've kept for 15 years, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe if you believe that truth, however painful, is always worth fighting for. Growing up in our affluent Boston suburb, my family appeared flawless from the outside. My father, Dr. Thomas Wilson, was a renowned neurosurgeon at Massachusetts General Hospital. His steady hands saved countless lives, and his name appeared regularly in medical journals. My mother, Diane Wilson, maintained her position as the neighborhood's premier socialite, organizing charity galas that attracted Boston's elite while serving on multiple community boards. Our Tudor-style home with its manicured lawn and seasonal decorations regularly featured in local lifestyle magazines. Then there were us kids, the three Wilson children, each with our assigned roles. Lauren, 2 years my senior, embodied perfection as the golden child. She maintained a straight-A record from kindergarten through high school, captained both the debate team and girls' swimming team, and played violin at a near-professional level. Her college applications boasted volunteer work at homeless shelters and summer internships at Father's Hospital. Lauren's striking blonde hair and athletic build drew admiring glances, while her charisma attracted a circle of equally accomplished friends. Tyler, 3 years younger than me, claimed the position of family baby and charming troublemaker. His mischievous grin and dimples got him out of any tight spot. When he set off the school fire alarm in 3rd grade, my parents laughed it off as boys being boys. When he crashed my father's car at 16, they bought him a newer model, claiming he needed to learn responsibility with better safety features. Tyler's mediocre grades never sparked concern. He was finding his path and socially gifted. And then there was me, Sarah, the forgotten middle child. I wasn't failing, but I wasn't exceptional either. My solid B+ average earned brief nods at dinner discussions dominated by Lauren's achievements. My position on the yearbook committee didn't compare to leadership roles. I wasn't ugly or beautiful, just average height, average brown hair, average features that didn't stand out in family photos. I existed in the margins of our family narrative, desperately trying various activities to earn a moment's recognition. Sarah needs to apply herself more, my father would say during our mandatory Sunday family dinners. Lauren was already preparing for her SATs at your age. These dinners epitomized our family's obsession with appearances. Mother would spend hours preparing Instagram-worthy meals, positioning each of us around the mahogany dining table in a tableau of familial harmony. Father sat at the head, mother at the foot, golden child and baby boy on one side, forgettable middle daughter on the other. We rehearsed acceptable dinner topics, school achievements, community service opportunities, neighborhood gossip that reflected well on us. The Johnson's daughter was rejected from Princeton, mother would whisper with barely concealed satisfaction. Apparently, her volunteer hours were mostly fabricated. Imagine the embarrassment. Public appearances required coordinated outfits, not matching exactly, but complementary colors that photographed well. Mother trained us to answer questions about our family with scripted responses. Yes, we're blessed to have such a close-knit family, Lauren would recite to admiring neighbors. My parents really support all our individual interests, I'd echo, though I couldn't name a single time they'd attended my school art show. I discovered photography in 8th grade when Mr. Abernathy, my art teacher, loaned me an old Nikon. Through that viewfinder, I found escape from family pressure. I could control what was visible and what remained hidden, unlike in our family, where imperfections were scrubbed away, denied existence. I photographed abandoned buildings, rusted playground equipment, cracked sidewalks, beauty and imperfection that would never be allowed in the Wilson family narrative. As Lauren entered her junior year of high school, her perfectionism intensified. I'd hear her pacing at night, witness her meticulously rewriting notes until her handwriting achieved flawlessness. She calculated and recalculated her GPA, obsessing over maintaining her valedictorian status. Swimming practices extended by hours as she pushed for record-breaking times. The pressure mounted as college application season approached. Yale has been the Wilson family school for generations, Father reminded her constantly. Your grandfather would be so proud to see you continue the tradition. I never expected my small moment of recognition to trigger the first crack in Lauren's perfect facade. The local arts council hosted a youth photography contest, and on a whim, I submitted a series of photos titled Invisible Middle. Black and white images capturing the space between objects, the gap between buildings, the negative space between branches, the empty chair at a dinner table. To my shock, I won first place. The newspaper featured my photo and a small interview. For one dinner, conversation centered on my achievement. Father mentioned a client whose daughter attended a prestigious art program. Mother suggested hosting a small reception to display my work. Lauren, unusually quiet, pushed food around her plate. It's just a local contest, she finally said. Not exactly Yale material. Lauren, Mother scolded lightly. Be supportive of your sister. I'm being realistic, Lauren countered. Photography is a hobby, not a career. Sarah needs to focus on academics if she wants to succeed. Just like that, my moment evaporated. Father agreed about practicality. Mother pivoted to Lauren's upcoming swim meet, and Tyler asked to be excused for a video game session with friends. I retreated back to invisibility, but not before catching Lauren's expression, not triumph, but relief. That was the first time I glimpsed how fragile her perfection truly was, how threatened she felt by any diversion of attention from her carefully constructed narrative. I didn't understand then that in a family built on appearances rather than authentic connection, recognition was a zero-sum game. If I gained visibility, Lauren lost precious spotlight. And in the Wilson family hierarchy, that simply wasn't allowed to happen. 2 years later, our family dynamics shifted into increasingly dangerous territory. Lauren, now 18, was in her senior year and hyper-focused on her Yale application. Early admission results would arrive in December, and the pressure transformed our already tense household into a minefield of expectations. Meanwhile, at 16, I was finally developing my own identity outside of Lauren's shadow. My friendship with Mia Castillo provided the authenticity missing from my family relationships. The daughter of Mexican immigrants who owned a local restaurant, Mia possessed a confidence and warmth entirely absent in my social circle. She spoke her mind, embraced her cultural heritage, and supported her family's business while maintaining excellent grades. My parents, predictably, found reasons to disapprove. The Castillos seem like nice people, Mother commented after Mia dropped me off one evening, her emphasis on nice, carrying unmistakable condescension. But you should really strengthen your connections with the Henderson girl. Her father is on the hospital board with your dad. Amanda Henderson is boring and fake, I replied, a rare moment of defiance. Mia is genuine. Genuine doesn't get you into Ivy League schools, Father interjected without looking up from his medical journal. Connections do. As I found my voice, Lauren seemed to be losing hers. Dark circles formed permanent residences under her eyes. Her typically perfect appearance showed subtle signs of deterioration. Chipped nail polish, hair pulled back rather than perfectly styled, school uniform lacking its usual precise pressing. During swim meets, her normally flawless technique grew sloppy, costing her team valuable points. One evening in October, our family gathered for another mandatory dinner. Mother had prepared her famous roast chicken with seasonal vegetables, precisely arranged on our heirloom china. Father discussed a complicated surgery he'd performed that morning, expecting appropriate expressions of awe from his audience. I have something to announce, I said during a rare moment of silence. I've been researching art programs for college. Rhode Island School of Design has an amazing photography department. The silence that followed felt like a physical entity, heavy and suffocating. Mother's fork paused midway to her mouth. Father's jaw tightened. Tyler, sensing tension, became intensely interested in his mashed potatoes. Art school. Father finally spoke, his tone suggesting I'd announced plans to join a cult. Photography isn't a practical career path, Sarah. Pre-med is the obvious choice for someone with your capabilities. But I don't want to be a doctor, I countered. I want to be a photographer. Photography can remain a lovely hobby, Mother offered with a tight smile. Many doctors have creative outlets to balance the stress of their profession. It's not a hobby for me. It's what I want to do with my life. This is just a phase, Father dismissed. You'll outgrow it when you understand the realities of the job market. No daughter of mine will struggle as a starving artist when she could have a respectable medical career. I looked to Lauren, expecting her usual perfect daughter agreement with our parents. Instead, she surprised me. I think Sarah's photography is really good, she said quietly. Maybe she should follow her passion. The comment felt off somehow, not genuinely supportive but calculated. Before I could analyze it further, Father redirected the conversation to Lauren's Yale application, and the moment passed. Later that week, I overheard an intense argument from Father's study. Curious, I lingered outside the partially open door. A 92 on the physics midterm is unacceptable, Lauren. Father's voice carried the cold disappointment he reserved for major transgressions. Yale doesn't accept students who can't maintain perfect GPAs. I've been studying constantly, Lauren's voice sounded desperate. I barely sleep anymore. Perhaps you need better time management, Mother suggested. Sarah mentioned seeing you at the mall with friends last weekend. 1 hour, Lauren's voice cracked. I took 1 hour after swimming 6 extra practices that week. Your sister wouldn't have mentioned it if she wasn't concerned about your focus, Mother replied. I froze in the hallway. I hadn't mentioned seeing Lauren at all. I'd been at Mia's house that weekend. My parents were using me as a surveillance tool against my sister, creating competition where none existed. The next morning, I passed the bathroom as Lauren exited. A small orange prescription bottle disappeared into her pocket when she noticed me. Her eyes, bloodshot and surrounded by dark circles, narrowed slightly. Did you tell Mom and Dad you saw me at the mall? She demanded. No, I was at Mia's all weekend, I answered truthfully. I didn't see you anywhere. Lauren studied my face, deciding whether to believe me. Something had changed in her expression, a hardness that hadn't been there before, calculation replacing her former confidence. They're turning us against each other, I ventured, trying to form an alliance. Maybe we should stay out of my business, Sarah, she interrupted. Focus on your little pictures and leave me alone. 2 weeks later came the first physical incident. I was carrying a basket of laundry down to our basement when Lauren appeared at the top of the stairs. I barely registered her presence before feeling a hard shove against my back. The world tilted as I tumbled down the wooden steps, laundry flying around me as I tried to grab the railing. I landed in a heap on the concrete floor, pain shooting through my wrist. Oh my God, Sarah. Lauren rushed down, face contorted with what looked like concern. You're so clumsy. Are you okay? My parents, hearing the commotion, appeared at the top of the stairs. What happened? Mother demanded. Sarah tripped on the laundry basket, Lauren explained before I could speak. I tried to catch her but couldn't reach in time. I opened my mouth to contradict her but stopped when I saw Lauren's expression, a silent warning in her eyes that made my blood run cold. I guess I wasn't watching my step, I mumbled instead. The sprained wrist earned me a brief visit to Father's colleague's office and a brace for 2 weeks. Typical Sarah, Father sighed as we drove home. Always with her head in the clouds instead of watching where she's going. I began noticing Lauren watching me with a strange expression when she thought I wasn't looking. Not anger exactly, but assessment, as if calculating something. Fear grew in my stomach each time I caught that look. I tried convincing myself I'd imagine the push, that Lauren wouldn't deliberately hurt me, but doubt lingered. When I confided in Mia about my suspicions, she didn't dismiss them. Competitive siblings can get intense, she said as we sat in her family's restaurant after closing. But physical violence crosses every line. Has she always been jealous of you? Jealous? Of me? The concept seemed absurd. She's the golden child. I'm nobody in our family. Maybe that's changing, Mia suggested. Maybe your photography is threatening her perfect daughter status. And if Yale rejects her, what's her identity then? I shook my head, unwilling to believe Lauren could see me as competition. She's always been the star. I'm just there. Sometimes the person with everything fears losing it more than the person with nothing fears not gaining it, Mia said with wisdom beyond her years. I dismissed Mia's theory until the morning I found my photography portfolio destroyed. The custom folder containing prints for my school application lay on my bed, water damage warping the photos beyond repair. My memory card containing digital backups was missing from my desk drawer. The careful, deliberate destruction couldn't be anything but intentional. And only one person had reason to ensure my artistic future disappeared. Did you do this? I demanded, barging into Lauren's meticulously organized bedroom and holding up my ruined portfolio. My hands shook with a mixture of grief and rage. Months of work, my best photographs, destroyed beyond recovery. Lauren looked up from her laptop, Yale application essays displayed on the screen. Her expression shifted from annoyed at the interruption to something colder, more calculated. Do what? She asked with practiced innocence, but her eyes gave her away. Satisfaction flickered briefly before she controlled her features. My portfolio is ruined. Someone poured water on all my prints and stole my memory card. I stepped closer, courage fueled by loss. This was my future, Lauren. She closed her laptop deliberately and stood, suddenly seeming taller though we were nearly the same height. You think anyone cares about your stupid pictures? You're nothing in this family. I'm the one with real talent, real potential. Photography. She laughed, a sound entirely devoid of humor. That's just your pathetic attempt to stand out. Her words struck with precision, targeting insecurities she'd observed over years of living alongside me while never truly seeing me. I backed toward the door, clutching my ruined portfolio. Mom and Dad will hear about this, I threatened weakly. Tell them, Lauren shrugged with supreme confidence. They'll assume you left water too close to your precious pictures. Careless Sarah, always daydreaming instead of paying attention. She was right, and we both knew it. My word against Lauren's had never been a fair contest in our household. I retreated without another word, Lauren's satisfied smile burning into my back. I needed space to process this new reality, that my sister, my own blood, could deliberately destroy something so important to me. I climbed out my bedroom window onto the small section of roof that had become my secret refuge over the years. From this perch, I could see beyond our perfect neighborhood to the city skyline in the distance, a reminder that a whole world existed outside the suffocating perfection of the Wilson family. The crisp October air bit through my thin sweater as I hugged my knees to my chest. The destroyed portfolio represented more than lost photographs. It symbolized Lauren's determination to eliminate any threat to her position, however minor. How had competition for our parents' approval twisted her into someone capable of such calculated cruelty? Sarah? Lauren's voice startled me. She stood at my window, one leg already through. Can we talk? Wariness kept me silent as she navigated onto the roof, maintaining careful distance between us. Her expression appeared contrite, shoulders slightly hunched, body language suggesting regret. I'm sorry about your pictures, she offered, voice soft. I was stressed about college applications and took it out on you. That wasn't fair. Suspicion prevented immediate forgiveness. Lauren never apologized. She justified, rationalized, or redirected blame. This performance didn't align with the sister I knew. Why would you do that? I asked, genuine confusion in my voice. My photography doesn't affect your Yale application. Lauren sighed, gazing toward the horizon. You don't understand the pressure. Mom and Dad expect absolute perfection. I can't show any weakness. Her voice cracked convincingly. And then you found your thing, something you're genuinely talented at, and they actually paid attention to you for once. Barely, I scoffed. For like 5 minutes before returning to the Lauren show. But those 5 minutes terrified me, she admitted. What if they started noticing you more? What if they realized I'm barely holding everything together? She pulled a small orange bottle from her pocket, the same one I'd glimpsed earlier. I need these just to keep up with expectations. I leaned forward, reading the prescription label. Adderall, prescribed to someone named Jennifer Morris, not Lauren Wilson. You're taking someone else's prescription drugs? Alarm replaced my anger. Lauren, that's dangerous and illegal. You could get expelled if school found out. See? This is why I can't talk to anyone, she snapped, mask of contrition slipping. Everyone just judges instead of understanding. I'm trying to understand, I insisted. But this isn't healthy. You need help, not pills. We should tell Mom and Dad. Tell them what? Lauren laughed bitterly. That their perfect daughter is actually a fraud? That I can't handle their expectations without chemical assistance? They'd be devastated. Maybe that's what needs to happen, I suggested carefully. Maybe they need to see the real consequences of the pressure they put on us. Easy for you to say, Lauren's voice hardened. They barely have expectations for you. I'm the one carrying this family's legacy. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, she interrupted, suddenly standing. I've worked too hard to let anything threaten my future. I'm going to Yale, I'm going to be successful, and nothing will stand in my way. Something in her tone sent warning signals through my body. I shifted subtly, creating more distance between us on the narrow roof section. Lauren, you're scaring me. I'm scaring myself, she admitted, an unsettling calm replacing her previous agitation. She stepped closer as I instinctively moved back. But I figured it out. The problem isn't the pills or the pressure. It's the distractions. Like your sudden interest in art school and everyone making such a big deal about your photography. My back now pressed against the dormer window of my bedroom, retreat impossible. Lauren stood between me and the open window I'd climbed through. What are you saying? I asked, though something primal in me already recognized the danger. I'm saying, Lauren replied with unnerving clarity, that sometimes problems require permanent solutions. Her movement was swift and precise, hands connecting with my shoulders in a powerful push that left no doubt about intent. There was a suspended moment where I teetered on the edge, arms windmilling desperately for balance. Lauren's expression contained no anger, only cold resolution. Then gravity claimed me. The fall lasted both an eternity and an instant. I remember fragments. The scrape of roof tiles against my grasping fingers, the startled expression of our neighbor walking her dog, the blue October sky spinning overhead. Then impact, my body connecting with the stone patio 2 stories below with a sickening crunch that reverberated through my bones. Pain exploded everywhere at once, then receded into strange numbness. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, could barely breathe. Through tunnel vision, I saw Lauren's panicked face peering from the roof, genuine horror replacing her previous determination. She disappeared, presumably running downstairs. Consciousness came in waves. Father's clinical voice, possible pneumothorax, definite pelvic fracture. Mother's wailing, what will people think? What will we tell everyone? Lauren's rehearsed story, she was taking photos on the roof. I tried to warn her about getting too close to the edge. Paramedics appeared in my fragmented awareness. Oxygen mask, neck brace, backboard, the agonizing transfer to the ambulance. Father riding along, already making calls to colleagues at the hospital. The last thing I remember before surrendering to darkness was his voice, clinical and detached. My daughter had a photography accident. Yes, the middle one. Sarah. I woke in a hospital room, the rhythmic beeping of monitors confirming I was alive despite the evidence of pain suggesting otherwise. Inventory of injuries. Broken ribs, punctured lung, fractured pelvis, concussion, countless contusions. My body, once functional if unremarkable, now broken and betrayed, not just by the fall, but by the hands that caused it. Mother and father flanked my bed like sentinels, not of protection but of narrative control. Their practice story already prepared. Sarah slipped and fell while taking photos on the roof. The photographer's equivalent of cleaning a loaded gun, a tragic accident born of carelessness rather than deliberate action. In their version, Lauren was the concerned sister who witnessed the accident, who ran for help, who cried appropriate tears at my bedside. Not the sister whose calculated push sent me plummeting toward what could easily have been my death. As consciousness solidified, I recognized the familiar Wilson family pattern asserting itself: appearance over reality, reputation over truth, perfection over accountability. Only now, the stakes had escalated from emotional damage to physical violence. And somehow, I was expected to play my assigned role in this twisted family performance, even with bones broken by my sister's hands. The hospital room became the stage for an elaborate performance directed by my parents. Every detail was managed, every narrative controlled. A young police officer arrived to take a routine statement about my accident, standard procedure for traumatic injuries. Sarah was taking photographs on the roof outside her bedroom window, Father explained smoothly before I could speak. She's always been passionate about her hobby, sometimes to the point of carelessness. Is that what happened, Miss Wilson? The officer asked me directly. Through medication haze and throbbing pain, I opened my mouth to contradict the story, but Mother quickly interjected. She's heavily sedated for pain management, she explained with practiced concern. The doctors say confusion is normal with concussion. We were just telling her what happened ourselves. She doesn't remember the fall. The officer nodded sympathetically, jotting notes. And you witnessed this, Dr. Wilson? I was in the driveway returning from work, Father fabricated effortlessly. I saw her slip and immediately rendered emergency aid. I wanted to scream the truth, but found words impossible through the combination of pain medication, physical trauma, and lifetime conditioning to defer to my parents' version of reality. The officer left with a fabricated account that protected Lauren while painting me as recklessly negligent. Later that evening, after Mother left to check on the other children, Father closed the hospital room door and sat beside my bed. His expression wasn't concerned or loving, but coldly pragmatic. We need to discuss the story moving forward, he began without preamble. Your accident was unfortunate, but we need to ensure it doesn't create unnecessary complications. It wasn't an accident, I managed through cracked lips, voice barely above a whisper. Lauren pushed me. Father's expression didn't change, no shock, no disbelief, no denial. Just calculation, which somehow proved more devastating than any reaction I might have anticipated. He'd either already suspected the truth or considered it irrelevant. Lauren's future can't be ruined by your carelessness, he stated flatly. Yale wouldn't accept her with this hanging over her. This family's reputation depends on you keeping quiet. She tried to kill me, I insisted, tears forming despite my determination to appear strong. Don't be dramatic, Father dismissed. If she wanted to kill you, she would have. Lauren lost her temper and you were injured. Regrettable, but not criminal. We'll handle this privately as a family. By pretending it didn't happen. My voice strengthened with outrage. By focusing on what matters, he corrected. Lauren has her Yale interview next week. Early admission decisions come next month. Your recovery will take approximately the same time. Everyone gets what they need. What about justice? What about my safety? Father sighed, checking his watch impatiently. Sarah, be practical. What would pressing charges accomplish? Lauren would lose her Yale acceptance. Our family name would be tarnished. Your mother's position in the community would be compromised. My patients might question my judgment. And you'd still be injured, still recovering. Nothing changes except our family is destroyed. He stood, straightening his designer tie. Consider this a painful life lesson about awareness of your surroundings. And perhaps reconsider your college plans. Pre-med at Boston University would keep you close to home during recovery and set you on a more practical career path than photography. He pronounced my passion with the same distaste he might use for an unpleasant medical condition. Mother reinforced this message during her visit the following morning, her approach more emotional manipulation than Father's cold logic. Darling, we've been researching art therapy programs, she announced, arranging flowers she'd brought, camera-ready concern for any nurses witnessing her performance. It's a legitimate medical field where you could use your interest in art while still pursuing a respectable healthcare career. When I remained silent, she continued, voice lowering. Your father and I would happily support such a practical compromise. Full tuition, living expenses, even a new camera. Your art school applications, however. She trailed off meaningfully. The threat was clear: play along with their version of events or lose any chance at college support. For a 16-year-old with no independent financial resources, this amounted to losing my future entirely. Tyler's visit provided momentary relief from the suffocating pressure of my parents' expectations. At 13, he remained innocent of family manipulation tactics, genuinely upset by my injuries. Lauren said you were taking pictures and slipped, he mentioned while showing me his latest video game achievements on his phone. She feels really bad. She said she should have stopped you from going out on the roof. I studied my brother's face, open, trusting, still believing in the family facade. Would revealing the truth protect him from future harm or merely destroy his sense of security? I chose silence, protecting his innocence a while longer. The hospital routine continued: vital checks, pain management, initial physical therapy assessments. Through it all, I observed my injuries being documented in medical records, X-rays displayed on light boards during doctor visits. Something about the first set of X-rays prompted furrowed brows from a young resident, quickly smoothed when my father's colleague Dr. Brennan entered the room. Impressive fall injuries, Dr. Brennan commented, reviewing my chart. Clean breaks, though, should heal nicely with proper care. Sarah has always been prone to accidents, father commented with a meaningful glance at his colleague. Spatial awareness issues since childhood. Dr. Brennan nodded, understanding something unspoken. I'll sign off on the discharge planning for next week. Complete bed rest for 2 weeks, then gradual mobility with home healthcare support. The realization settled heavily. My father's medical connections were ensuring minimal questions about injuries inconsistent with a simple fall. The conspiracy extended beyond our immediate family, protected by professional courtesy and my father's influence. As recovery progressed, my growing awareness of this orchestrated cover-up intensified feelings of isolation. Until Mia sneaked into my hospital room during a rare period when both my parents were absent. Your mother tried to block my visits, she explained, placing a small gift bag on my bedside table. Said you needed family-only support during recovery. They're controlling the narrative, I whispered, fearful of being overheard despite our privacy. Lauren pushed me off the roof, Mia. Deliberately. And they're all pretending it was an accident. Instead of disbelief, Mia's expression showed grim confirmation of suspicions. I knew something was wrong with their story. You're too careful for a stupid accident. She removed a familiar object from her bag, my camera, miraculously intact. I found this in the bushes near where you fell. Memory card still inside. My hands trembled as I took the camera, my connection to truth in a situation built on lies. They told the police I was taking pictures when I fell. I wasn't. My camera was in my room. Lauren and I were arguing after she destroyed my portfolio. Mia's presence provided the first genuine compassion I'd experienced since the fall. What can I do? Keep this safe, I requested, returning the camera. If something happens to me. Don't talk like that, Mia interrupted, but took the camera. This isn't over. Before leaving, she shared one final piece of information. I met a woman in the waiting room, Mrs. Patel. She said she's a hospital social worker assigned to your case. Your parents rescheduled her twice, but she's persistent. Said she needs to speak with you alone as part of discharge protocol. This information provided the first glimmer of hope. Someone outside my parents' influence sphere might ask the right questions. When Mrs. Patel finally gained access to my room the following day, her quiet competence immediately distinguished her from the other professionals who deferred to my father's authority. I notice you haven't said much during family discussions about your accident, she observed after introducing herself. I'd like to hear your perspective, if you're comfortable sharing. The gentle invitation to speak my truth nearly broke my carefully maintained composure. After days of having my reality invalidated, someone was actually asking for my version. Yet years of family conditioning made betrayal unthinkable, regardless of circumstances. I repeated the official story, voice hollow. Mrs. Patel nodded, neither accepting nor challenging this response. Recovery from traumatic injuries involves more than physical healing. Sometimes the emotional impact can be equally significant, especially when an accident changes how we see ourselves or those around us. Her careful wording opened a door without forcing me through it. She placed her business card on my bedside table before leaving. If you ever need to talk about anything, my direct line is on the back. Completely confidential. That small card became a lifeline as I navigated the growing conflict between self-preservation and family loyalty. Someone believed something wasn't right, even if I couldn't yet speak the words aloud. 2 months after the accident, I found myself essentially imprisoned in our family home. My broken body required intensive physical therapy and constant pain management, but the physical limitations paled compared to the psychological confinement. Every aspect of my recovery occurred under my parents' watchful supervision. Medical appointments with father's colleagues, home healthcare providers selected for discretion rather than expertise, visitors carefully screened and limited. Lauren had departed for Yale immediately after receiving her early acceptance, conveniently removing herself from the scene of her crime. Our few interactions before her departure were surreal, her performance of concerned sister contrasting sharply with private moments when her eyes revealed neither remorse nor concern, only relief at escaping consequences. During one such moment, as she packed for college, I wheeled my chair to her doorway. "How can you just leave, knowing what you did?" She continued folding sweaters into her suitcase, not bothering to face me. "We all have accidents, Sarah. I've forgiven you for telling Mom and Dad about seeing me at the mall when you clearly didn't. We're even now." The breathtaking false equivalence between a fabricated minor transgression and attempted murder revealed the depth of her moral bankruptcy. She genuinely believed her actions justified, her future more valuable than my life. "This isn't over," I promised quietly. Lauren finally turned, her expression calculating. "Actually, it is. You'll follow the script because you have nowhere else to go and no one who'll believe you over our parents. I'll excel at Yale while you recover from your carelessness." By summer, this will be a fading family anecdote about Sarah's artistic recklessness. Her casual dismissal of nearly killing me crystallized something vital. I needed to escape this family before they destroyed me completely. My parents continued reinforcing their version of reality through subtle and overt pressure. Mother redecorated my bedroom while I was hospitalized, removing photography posters and art supplies, replacing them with medical reference books and pre-med brochures. Father scheduled informational interviews with medical school friends during my recovery, each conversation assuming my future career path was decided. Dr. Harrison mentioned a summer internship program for high school students interested in radiology, he announced during dinner. "Perfect opportunity to build your resume while you complete physical therapy." The irony wasn't lost on me, specializing in viewing the very X-rays that could have revealed the truth about my injuries. Throughout this period, my parents maintained strict control over my pain medication, doling out pills according to their assessment of my needs rather than prescribed schedules. The resulting undermanaged pain reinforced my dependence while keeping me slightly foggy, compliant, and less likely to contradict their narrative. My only act of rebellion was secret documentation of my recovery. When alone, I used my phone to photograph my healing body, the yellowing bruises, surgical scars, physical therapy progress. I recorded voice notes about inconsistencies in my parents' story and my actual memories of the incident. Each digital record created evidence contradicting the official narrative, though I had no clear plan for using this information. Mrs. Patel became an unexpected ally during outpatient therapy sessions. My parents couldn't reasonably object to the hospital's post-trauma counseling protocol without raising suspicions, so they reluctantly allowed these appointments. "Recovery involves reclaiming your voice," she noted during one session. Trauma survivors often report feeling silenced or invalidated by those around them, which compounds the original injury. Her careful phrasing offered permission to acknowledge what was happening without directly challenging my family's version. During our fourth session, I finally voiced a partial truth. My family prefers their version of what happened over mine. Mrs. Patel nodded, maintaining neutral professionalism while passing me a new business card. Sometimes hospital environments aren't conducive to complete honesty. My private practice address is on this card, should you ever need to continue our conversations in a different setting. The offer of resources outside my parents' influence sphere represented a potential escape route I carefully memorized. In January, during my parents' annual charity gala attendance, I seized a rare opportunity for unsupervised investigation. Using my gradually improving mobility, I searched Lauren's room for the prescription bottle I'd glimpsed before the fall. Despite her departure for college, my parents had preserved her space exactly as she'd left it, shrine to the golden child. After 30 minutes of careful searching, I located a false bottom in her desk drawer containing not one but 3 prescription bottles, each with different names and prescribing doctors. Online research confirmed my suspicions. Adderall, Ritalin, and Modafinil, all performance enhancement drugs and prescription stimulants commonly abused for academic advantage. The discovery added another dimension to Lauren's desperate protection of her perfect image. Not only was she willing to eliminate perceived threats through violence, but her entire academic success relied on illegal substance use. The golden child's achievements were as artificially constructed as our family's perfect image. I photographed the bottles and returned them exactly as found, adding this evidence to my growing documentation. My purpose remained unclear, but instinct drove me to gather proof of reality in a household built on fabrication. As winter melted into spring, my physical recovery progressed faster than my parents anticipated. The same determination they'd dismissed in my photography now fueled intensive physical therapy. Each painful step toward mobility represented one step closer to eventual escape from their control. College application season approached, my last chance to create a future outside the path my parents had designated. While they believed me resigned to local pre-med programs, I secretly applied to art schools with Mia's help, using her address for correspondence. The facade cracked when April college decision letters arrived. Mother casually mentioned, "The financial aid forms for BU pre-med are complete. We should hear about your package soon. What about RISD and other art programs?" I asked carefully. Her brief hesitation confirmed my suspicion. Those applications weren't submitted. Your father and I decided against encouraging unrealistic career paths during your recovery. They hadn't just pressured me toward their preferred future, they'd actively eliminated alternatives without my knowledge or consent. The systematic dismantling of my autonomy extended beyond the present into my entire future. You had no right, I stated, a rare direct challenge to their authority. We had every right, Father countered, looking up from his journal. As your parents and financial supporters, we're making decisions in your best interest. This photography obsession has already cost you physically. It's time to grow up and accept reality. The crushing realization that they would control my future indefinitely nearly broke my resolve. Without financial independence, I remained trapped in their narrative regardless of physical recovery. The hopelessness of my situation settled heavily as spring advanced toward summer. The breaking point arrived unexpectedly during Lauren's brief return home for spring break. While my parents hosted a welcome home dinner for the returning scholar, I searched her room again, looking for updated evidence of continued drug use at Yale. Instead, I found something far more damning, her journal, carelessly left in her weekend bag. Against lifelong conditioning about privacy, I opened it, justifying the invasion as necessary self-preservation. Among descriptions of Yale courses and social climbing strategies, one entry from shortly after the accident stopped my breath. Problem solved with S. Parents completely on board with the accident story. Yale interviewer actually sympathized about my traumatic experience witnessing my sister's fall. Turned potential disaster into compelling personal essay material. Sometimes solutions require decisive action when too much is at stake. The clinical description of nearly killing me as problem solved and leveraging my injuries for Yale admissions advantage triggered an immediate panic attack. Chest tightening, vision narrowing, I stumbled from her room clutching the journal, gasping for breath. Mother found me collapsed in the hallway, immediately assuming physical recovery setback rather than psychological breakdown. The resulting emergency room visit introduced a new doctor to my case, Dr. Rivera, attending physician unfamiliar with my father's influence network. Your symptoms suggest anxiety attack rather than physical regression, she noted after initial assessment. But I'd like updated x-rays to ensure no new complications with your healing fractures. As technicians positioned me for fresh images, Dr. Rivera reviewed my medical file with increasing focus on the original injury documentation. Something in her expression suggested professional concern beyond routine follow-up. The x-rays would soon speak louder than any family story, beginning the collapse of a conspiracy built to protect the wrong person at the expense of justice and truth. Dr. Rivera's expression changed subtly as she examined the new x-rays alongside my original injury films. Her professionally neutral demeanor gave way to focused intensity as she moved between images, occasionally referring to my chart notes. I recognized the shift, the moment medical observation transformed into active investigation. I'd like to discuss these results privately, she announced, glancing pointedly at my mother, who had maintained her position beside my exam table. Standard protocol for patients over 16. I'm her mother, came the predictable objection. Sarah is still recovering from significant trauma and needs family support during medical discussions. Nevertheless, Dr. Rivera maintained firmly, hospital policy ensures patient confidentiality. The consultation room is just across the hall if Sarah wishes to include you afterward. Mother's tight smile failed to mask her frustration at this unexpected challenge to her control. I'll be right outside, Sarah. Remember, Dr. Brennan is expecting us for follow-up tomorrow. The implied reminder of our family's proper medical connections hung in the air as she reluctantly exited. Once alone, Dr. Rivera positioned the X-ray films side by side on the light board. Sarah, I'm going to speak directly. These injuries don't match a simple fall. The angle of impact suggests you were pushed. The professional validation of reality I'd been denied for months broke something inside me. Tears came without warning, months of suppressed truth seeking release. Take your time, Dr. Rivera offered quietly, sliding a box of tissues toward me. But I need to understand what actually happened. These inconsistencies raise serious concerns. Through broken sentences and occasional sobs, I revealed the truth: Lauren's escalating behavior, the roof confrontation, the deliberate push, my parents' orchestrated cover-up. As my account unfolded, Dr. Rivera took careful notes, occasionally asking clarifying questions without judgment or disbelief. This explains the discrepancies in your initial treatment notes, she confirmed. The fracture patterns and impact trauma never aligned with an accidental fall narrative. Your father's colleague noted these inconsistencies, but ultimately signed off on the accident report. No one would believe me over my parents, I explained. They've convinced everyone I'm confused about what happened. Dr. Rivera's expression hardened. Medical evidence doesn't lie, even when people do. These x-rays tell a clear story of assault, not accident. She outlined immediate next steps. Hospital administration would be notified of potential medical ethics violations, and as a mandatory reporter, she was legally obligated to file a report with both police and family services. What will happen now? I asked, equal parts terrified and relieved. A formal investigation, she explained. Your safety is the priority. We can arrange temporary placement outside your home during the process. Before I could respond, commotion erupted in the hallway, my father's authoritative voice demanding access, invoking professional courtesy and parental rights. The hospital security officer outside my door held firm, following Dr. Rivera's instructions for privacy. When my parents were eventually allowed in, the atmosphere crackled with tension. Father immediately recognized the x-rays displayed and the potential threat they posed to his carefully constructed narrative. Dr. Rivera, he addressed her with forced collegiality, I appreciate your thoroughness, but Sarah's case is being managed by our family physician. These additional tests seem unnecessary and potentially confusing for her recovery. Actually, Dr. Wilson, she countered professionally, these images clarify rather than confuse. They demonstrate injury patterns inconsistent with an accidental fall and highly consistent with a directed force application, a push. Mother gasped dramatically. What exactly are you implying? I'm not implying anything, Dr. Rivera stated firmly. I'm directly stating that the medical evidence contradicts the accident report filed after Sarah's initial admission. Hospital administration has been notified, and as required by law, I've contacted authorities to investigate. This is outrageous, Father's voice lowered dangerously. You're overstepping professional boundaries based on incomplete information. My daughter has a history of spatial awareness issues and risk-taking behavior. Her fall was thoroughly documented by witnesses. The same arguments that had silenced me for months now seemed transparent and desperate when directed at an objective medical professional with evidence contradicting their claims. Sarah has provided a different account, Dr. Rivera replied, maintaining composure. One that aligns with the physical evidence. All eyes turned to me, the invisible middle child suddenly the center of attention. For years, I'd craved my parents' focus, but now their gaze carried only calculation of damage control rather than concern. Sarah, Mother employed her gentlest tone, you're confused again, mixing up bad dreams with reality. We understand. Trauma does terrible things to memory. But we were there. We know what happened. For a moment, lifetime conditioning nearly reasserted itself, the impulse to accept their reality, to doubt my own experience, to return to the safety of compliance. Then I remembered Lauren's journal entry, problem solved with S. I reached into my bag and withdrew 3 pieces of evidence I'd brought to the hospital. Lauren's journal entry, carefully photographed, the photo from my camera's memory card showing Lauren's expression just before the push. And my documented recovery photos showing injuries inconsistent with the reported accident. I'm not confused, I stated, voice steadier than I'd thought possible. Lauren pushed me because I threatened to reveal her prescription drug abuse. You covered it up to protect her Yale admission and your reputations. Everything I've said is true, and now the X-rays prove it. Father's face transformed from controlled concern to cold fury. You have no idea what you're doing. This vindictive attention-seeking will destroy this family. Is that what you want? I wanted parents who valued my safety over appearances, I answered honestly. I wanted a sister who saw me as a person, not competition. I wanted truth to matter in our family. Since none of those things exist, I'll settle for justice and protection. The hospital room door opened to admit hospital security, a police detective, and a family services representative. The formal investigation had begun, setting in motion consequences my family had never anticipated when constructing their perfect facade. Dr. and Mrs. Wilson, the detective addressed my parents, we'd like to ask you some questions about your daughter's injuries from October. We also need to contact your other daughter at Yale. Mother collapsed dramatically into a chair, while Father maintained rigid control. Our attorney will meet us at the station. We have nothing to hide, but refuse to be ambushed without proper representation. As they were escorted from the room, Father delivered a final threat disguised as concern. Think carefully about your next steps, Sarah. Once certain doors close, they cannot be reopened. Family should protect each other, not destroy each other. The family services representative, a calm woman named Ms. Winters, explained I wouldn't be returning home while the investigation proceeded. We'll arrange temporary placement until the situation stabilizes. Is there someone you'd feel comfortable staying with temporarily? Mia's family immediately came to mind, the genuine warmth and honesty of their household contrasting sharply with the perfectly arranged emptiness of my own. As I provided Mia's contact information, the weight of 16 years of invalidation began lifting. The X-rays had spoken what I couldn't, truth visible in black and white, undeniable evidence that my reality was the accurate one. The broken bones revealed on those films somehow helped mend my broken sense of reality, validating what I'd always known but been conditioned to doubt. The family explosion occurred rapidly over subsequent days. Lauren was called back from Yale, her perfect collegiate experience interrupted by police questioning. Tyler, confused and betrayed by revelations about his idealized older sister, retreated to our grandparents' home, struggling to reconcile conflicting versions of family reality. My parents presented a united front of denial despite mounting evidence. When Lauren eventually confessed under pressure of multiple witness statements and physical evidence, they shifted seamlessly to damage control, hiring top attorneys to frame the incident as momentary adolescent impulse rather than calculated attempt at serious harm. Their final ultimatum came through their lawyer during a supervised family meeting. Recant my accusations, accept the accident narrative with modified details acknowledging Lauren's role in encouraging risky behavior, and return to the family fold with promises of therapy and improved communication. In exchange, they would fully fund my education at an approved art school and provide appropriate medical care through recovery. The alternative was clear: proceed with charges against Lauren and be permanently cut off financially and emotionally from the family. Sometimes family loyalty requires difficult compromises, Mother explained with rehearsed compassion. We can heal together and move forward stronger. The old Sarah might have capitulated, accepting partial validation as better than none, sacrificing justice for approval. But the Sarah who had survived being pushed from a roof, who had endured months of gaslighting during painful recovery, who had finally seen her reality confirmed through irrefutable evidence, that Sarah recognized the offered compromise as merely another form of silencing. I choose truth, I stated simply, even without family. 6 months after the X-rays spoke their truth, my life bore little resemblance to the carefully controlled existence I'd known within the Wilson family. I now lived with Mia's family in their warm, modest apartment above their restaurant. The Castillos had welcomed me without hesitation when the Family Services investigation determined my home environment unsafe during legal proceedings. Family is who protects you, not who shares your blood, Mia's mother told me while preparing our dinner one evening, wisdom that helped reshape my understanding of belonging. The legal aftermath unfolded with consequences my parents had desperately tried to prevent. Lauren received probation and mandatory psychiatric treatment rather than prison time, her age and previously clean record factoring into sentencing. Yale rescinded her admission upon learning the full circumstances, destroying the future my parents had prioritized above my safety. My parents faced charges for obstruction and failure to report, their professional reputations tarnished by public revelation of their cover-up. Father's hospital privileges underwent review, and Mother's social standing collapsed as former friends distanced themselves from scandal. The family that had valued appearance above all now experienced the reality they had most feared: public exposure of their dysfunction. Throughout this period, I focused on rebuilding my life through education and creative expression. The investigation uncovered my parents' deliberate sabotage of my art school applications, but Mrs. Patel connected me with advocacy resources that helped secure a prestigious scholarship to the Rhode Island School of Design's photography program. My portfolio, rebuilt from scratch after Lauren's destruction, now featured documentary-style images chronicling recovery and resilience. The most unexpected development came from Tyler. Initially confused and angry about family revelations, my younger brother eventually reached out after 3 months of silence. At 14, he demonstrated remarkable emotional maturity navigating the family fracture. I miss having a sister who doesn't lie to me, he admitted during our first meeting at a neutral coffee shop, supervised by our grandparents. Lauren keeps saying everything was a misunderstanding, and Mom and Dad won't talk about it at all. I just want someone to tell me the truth. Our rebuilt relationship became one of genuine connection rather than performed family unity. Living with our grandparents while our parents focused on legal defenses, Tyler found space to develop his own identity outside the perfect family narrative. Our weekly video calls and monthly in-person meetings allowed us to create a sibling bond based on honesty instead of hierarchy. Mrs. Patel introduced me to a support group for survivors of family violence, where I met others whose experiences mirrored aspects of mine. Listening to their stories helped contextualize my own, replacing isolation with community understanding. Gradually, I recognized patterns in my family dynamics that had enabled escalating abuse: the scapegoating of one child, golden child syndrome, parental emotional neglect disguised as high expectations, and systematic reality distortion when family image was threatened. Healing doesn't mean forgetting or minimizing what happened, our group facilitator explained. It means integrating the experience into your life narrative without letting it define your entire future. This framework helped me approach my photography with renewed purpose. My developing portfolio, the X-rays spoke louder, featured stark black and white images juxtaposing medical evidence with family photographs, concrete reality against carefully constructed appearances. When featured in a student exhibition, the series attracted attention from local media and advocacy organizations for its unflinching examination of family violence and institutional enabling. The most complex aspect of recovery involved Lauren. After 6 months of court-mandated therapy, she requested contact through her treatment program. Initially reluctant, I eventually agreed to supervised communication with my therapist's support. Her first letter acknowledged responsibility without excuses. I thought I was protecting my future by eliminating obstacles, but I was actually destroying everything that matters. No college acceptance or parental approval could ever justify what I did to you. While not immediately forgiving, I recognized the value of this accountability for both our healing processes. Our carefully boundaried communication evolved through letters to eventual video calls, each interaction rebuilding basic trust without erasing consequences. Lauren's path involved intensive treatment for both substance dependency and the perfectionism that had warped her moral framework, transforming academic competition into justification for violence. My parents attempted reconciliation on their terms once the legal proceedings concluded with plea agreements. Their version of family reunification came with conditions: private acknowledgement of wrongdoing, but public maintenance of modified accident narrative, therapist-supervised family sessions aimed at eventual public reconciliation, and financial support contingent on family loyalty moving forward. "We've all made mistakes," Father offered during a mediated meeting. "It's time to rebuild as a family unit." "Some things aren't mistakes," I countered. "They're choices. You chose Lauren's future over my safety. You chose reputation over truth. You chose appearance over reality. Those weren't errors in judgment, but deliberate value decisions." Mother's tears, once so effective at manipulating my compliance, now seemed performative rather than genuine. "We only wanted what was best for everyone." "No," I corrected gently but firmly. "You wanted what looked best to everyone. There's a difference." I declined their conditional reconciliation, establishing instead my own terms for limited contact: acknowledgement of full reality without minimization, respect for my independence, including educational and career choices, and abandonment of perfect family pretense in favor of authentic, flawed relationship. "I don't need a perfect family," I explained. "I need an honest one. When you're ready for that, we can try again." As my first year of college approached, my photography evolved beyond documentation of trauma toward broader exploration of hidden realities. My images examine spaces between public presentation and private truth, not just in families but institutions, communities, and cultural narratives. Professor Jimenez, my faculty advisor, noted the maturity in my perspective unusual for first-year students. "You're not creating voyeuristic trauma art," she observed while reviewing my portfolio. "You're developing a visual language for authenticity in a world that often rewards performance over truth." This validation of artistic purpose helped transform painful experience into meaningful expression. When offered the opportunity to teach a weekend photography workshop for young trauma survivors through a local advocacy center, I found unexpected healing in helping others find their visual voice. 17-year-old Zach, whose father's abuse had been similarly concealed by family denial, captured particularly powerful images of locked doors and broken keys. "Before taking pictures, I couldn't explain what happened without crying," he shared during our final session. "Now I can show people instead of just telling them." His words crystallized my understanding of photography's power: not just artistic expression, but evidence creation, reality validation when verbal testimony might be dismissed or disbelieved. The X-rays had spoken for me when words failed. Now my camera spoke for others facing similar silencing. Looking back from my new vantage point, I recognized the painful irony of my family's obsession with perfect appearance. In trying to maintain flawless external image, they created internal brokenness far more damaging than any public imperfection might have been. Their fear of looking bad ultimately created the very public exposure and judgment they desperately sought to avoid. My healing journey continues. Physical scars faded, but emotional recovery ongoing. Some days still bring flashbacks of falling, momentary doubts about reality when memories conflict with years of programmed family narrative. But these moments no longer define my future or determine my worth. The truth remains simple yet profound. Silence protects the wrong people. Speaking truth, however painful, creates the only path to genuine healing. The X-rays revealed not just my broken bones, but my unbreakable spirit, evidence that reality eventually surfaces despite efforts to contain it behind perfect family portraits and practiced smiles. Today, my camera lens focuses on both shadow and light, capturing complete human experience rather than carefully curated highlights. My most powerful images embrace imperfection, finding beauty in authentic reality rather than constructed perfection. In this approach, I've discovered not just artistic vision but life philosophy. Genuine connection requires vulnerability, and true strength emerges not from appearing flawless, but from surviving brokenness. The family I've created through chosen relationships provides what my biological family couldn't: acceptance without performance requirements, love without conditional approval, and truth without image management. These connections, built on authentic foundation rather than appearance, offer stability my perfect-looking family never achieved. Have you ever had to choose between painful truth and comfortable lies? Between family loyalty and personal safety? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If my story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to support others sharing their experiences. Remember, your story deserves to be heard and believed, even when others try to silence it. Thank you for witnessing mine. Together, we can create communities where truth speaks louder than appearances, and healing becomes possible through shared understanding.